You ever notice how, when you tell someone you actually like winter, they look at you like you just confessed to something deeply wrong? Like they're scanning for what broke in you and when. But here's the thing. There's a whole population of people who feel the temperature drop, watch the sky turn that heavy slate color, and experience what can only really be called relief. And if you're one of them, you've probably spent years not quite being able to explain why. You just know you feel it. Everyone else thinks it's strange. But you're not strange. You might actually understand your own nervous system better than most people in the room. And here's why that matters. Start with something nobody wants to admit. A lot of winter people aren't running toward cold. They're running away from heat. And that's not the same thing. One's about taste, the other's about survival. Heat, real heat, not a pleasant warm day, is a biological stressor. You're soaked through before breakfast, headaches that won't quit, that crawling irritability that has no target but desperately needs one. Your sleep falls apart. You wake up sticky and disoriented, and you're somehow supposed to feel lucky because the sun's out. If you're even remotely sensitive to sensory input, that relentless bright light feels like it's boring straight into your brain. Some people love that. Genuinely, good for them. But if you've spent every summer feeling overstimulated and quietly ashamed of it, winter air isn't a vibe. It's breathing room. And speaking of that, most people know about seasonal affective disorder in winter. Way fewer know there's a documented summer version. It's called reverse SAD, and it's real. Heat and long daylight hours trigger actual depressive and anxiety symptoms in some people. Norman Rosenthal, the psychiatrist who first identified SAD back in 1984, had already described the summer pattern by 1989. It's not studied as much, but it exists. For people who have it, summer isn't a gift, it's endurance. If that just hits something in you, pay attention to that. Summer also comes with a hidden cost. Sunshine apparently means your schedule is public property. Invitations appear without warning. Someone floats a group trip, and suddenly you're difficult for not jumping at it. There's this unspoken rule where good weather equals social obligation, and if you opt out, it feels like you're wasting something. Winter cancels all of that. The city gets quieter. The invitations slow down. Your time stops being something other people assume they can fill. For certain people, that's not loneliness. That's the entire appeal. And it's not about hating people. Plenty of winter lovers are warm, engaged, socially healthy people. What they can't stand is the mandatory version. The socializing that just arrives whether you asked for it or not, packaged with the season like spam. Winter's the opt-out button. You still go out, you just do it intentionally. The research backs this up. A 2015 study by Oishi showed that introverts consistently chose enclosed, secluded spaces and were measurably happier in them. Winter does exactly that to the world, closes it down, narrows it, muffles it. The sensory overload of just existing in public drops off. Here's the neuroscience in short. People vary wildly in how much environmental input their nervous system can handle before it tips into overload. Summer cranks that input to the max. Winter dials it down. For a lot of people, that's not deprivation. That's recalibration. But the introvert explanation is too neat. There's a whole subset of winter people who aren't introverted at all. What they share is something more specific. A complicated relationship with permission. Modern life runs on performance, productivity, visibility, momentum. Summer amplifies all of it. Those long days feel like a moral argument for doing more. Even rest has to look productive. There's a guilt that sits inside a sunny Saturday where you do nothing, because every hour of light feels like it's on loan. Winter erases that. The dark comes early. The cold is a reason to stay in. And the world quietly agrees that slowing down is okay. For people who are relentlessly hard on themselves, who can't rest without an excuse, winter is the only season that gives them one without asking. Permission to just be human instead of a metric. And a lot of people don't realize that's what they're responding to, which is why all they can say is, "I just like the cold." What they really mean is closer to, "I feel less guilty existing slowly when it looks like this outside." There's also something to say about aesthetics, and I don't mean that in a shallow way. Winter people describe it in almost meditative terms. The silence after snow, the way sound gets absorbed, that specific light at 4 in the afternoon in December, that blue-gray just before dark. It's actually kind of remarkable if you've ever stopped to look at it. Being attuned to that kind of subtle, overlooked detail tends to go with a certain cognitive style. Depth over breadth, absorption over scanning. The kind of person who rereads the last chapter twice, who catches a shift in someone's tone mid-sentence. Winter rewards that kind of attention. Summer, with all its noise in the foreground, just doesn't. And then there's identity. Summer comes with a performance. You're expected to show up as the social version of yourself, the active one, the one with plans and excitement for things that happen outside in full sun. A lot of people can do that without friction. Some find it exhausting in ways they don't have words for. Winter gives you your actual face back, the version that exists at home, at your own pace, without anyone watching. For people whose internal world is richer than their external one, and that's more people than you'd think, that return feels like finally taking off shoes you've been wearing for half a year. None of this means summer people are wrong. Some nervous systems genuinely flourish under stimulation and warmth. The culture we've built, especially in the West, has always been far kinder to them, which is part of why winter people often move through life with this low hum of feeling slightly misaligned. If you've made it this far, I'm guessing you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't mean that as some vague nod to an abstract audience. If this felt less like new information and more like being seen, welcome. Winter people aren't sad people avoiding life. A lot of them are people who've spent years in spaces built for someone else's wiring, someone else's social appetite, someone else's idea of what a good time looks like. And for a few months every year, the world rearranges itself to fit theirs. The gray sky was never the problem. It never needed fixing.